Hey guys, welcome to today's episode. I'm your host, Jude Charlton. This is the third attempt of you guys giving me a try, so thank you for giving me three chances. So, having said that, today I'm going to be talking about is loneliness. Loneliness is typically a state of being which happens to us, or a state of mind where our expectations with external relationships and other relationships don't meet our needs. But people do feel lonely for various reasons. You do feel lonely when your situation has changed, when you have moved to a new country, when things around you have changed, when your city has changed, when people around you are different. You do feel lonely because you do not connect. Second, it could arise due to financial changes or issues or problems. You need support, and at times there is no support, and you feel that you wish there was someone who could help you financially, which is why you could feel lonely. Third, it could be due to a lot of other changes in life in general, in terms of change of your workplace, change of your circle, change of your society, change of things for various factors. Today, life is all about constant change. When we went through the pandemic, working from home was a huge change for all of us, and that could also be a contributing factor. And there are other serious factors such as death, which also does cause loneliness. Someone who's very close to you is no more, and that does create a huge vacuum, because if you do not understand what it is, it's very hard to tackle it. So even before I proceed, I'd like to state the very same thing that I did state for the previous video. I do address topics that are deep, that are personal, that are strong, that people do not want to talk about, because they could be borderline going through it. I could be borderline going through it. You know, people are borderline going through it. You do not want to address these cliche topics because they're not rational, they don't make sense. It could be various factors, but that's the whole point of the podcast. This is the Irrational Sense podcast, and I'm here to talk about what I feel and what I think people don't talk about, and I also see people go through it. So today, such topic is loneliness. I would like to specifically address loneliness in terms of people who are moving to a new country. Today, I'm addressing loneliness not in a therapy aspect. I cannot help people with loneliness. I am not a trained therapist. I do not know a lot about loneliness. I don't know how people go through it, how they get over it. I don't have answers to all the questions, but hey, I do know one thing. I do know how what borderline loneliness can feel. Everyone at some point in their time or in their life have gone through loneliness. It's a feeling of vacuum and void, which does happen. So why are we feeling loneliness? Is it the problem of the 20th century? Is it a problem of the 21st century? The people go through it before, people are going through it now. Important things for loneliness: you need acceptance. You need, because either someone has not met my expectations, relationships have not met my expectations. There are certain things I wanted from a relationship. It ended for whatever reason. Either the person is there, not there. It could be various factors, because loneliness generally is an emotional bond that is not there with you, in terms of support that is not there with you. It is more of an emotion more than logic. So logically it makes sense for you to go out there, meet people, be active, speak to people, go to different groups, and all these cliche things that you hear. But we, all of us, know how hard it is when it comes to doing those things. Acceptance and the ability to say that yes, now I want to move on, is very crucial. This video, I'm not going to be giving out pointers on how you can go over it. I'm only going to be sharing notes on how I got through it, things that I did, things that possibly, probably, if you guys see, you may connect. And if you think that it makes sense for you guys to do it, probably you could. If you're not in the same situation as me, if things are very different, and if I do not connect with what you guys are going through, do have a broad mind on understanding the subject. I do know it can be very intense. I know how it feels. But hey, you got this. Even if you do not listen to me, as long as you get through this, I think the purpose of this video is solved. Basically, loneliness, you got to understand in terms of, is it you with something or something with you? For example, if I want to be a part of something and I'm not, then I feel lonely, is one sort of feeling. Or you have a system, but it's not connecting to you. You are not feeling the bond that you did before. A second kind of feeling. Second is once you've accepted and acknowledged that, yes, I'm feeling low. Yes, this is what I'm going through. It could be a feeling, it could be something missing. Now I want to get over it. What are the things I could do? You possibly and probably want to connect to the most closest circle that you trust, and you want to let them know in ways that, not that you're feeling lonely, because not all of us are like, hey, I'm lonely. I'm sure that's not how it works, but you're not engaging, like things are not the same anymore, and you want to give subtle signs, and you want to be expressive to people who around you know that things are not going the same way. And I think that is very important. You want to be able to communicate to people who you care about and people who care about you, because this is a very private, sensitive topic. And for me, as someone who's extremely sensitive and very private, I communicate to very, very few specific people. That crucial connection, even if it's one or two, is very important, because that will get you through. That is the rope that helps you cross over. That is the rope that's going to get you to the shore. And most importantly, you would be able to get over this faster and quicker and easier if you communicate it to people. So communication is crucial. Now, the pointers that I'm going to be sharing is more from an immigrant perspective, but this does apply also to people who are otherwise feeling lonely without being an immigrant. When I say immigrant, or people who have moved to a new country, one thing about accepting and acknowledging with loneliness, it is important for you to know your facts. And these facts is hard, but you got to come in terms with it. What are the facts? You're off your family, you're off your community, your surroundings are different. These are important. When you're off your family, things are not the same, so you are going to feel different. Your food's not going to be the same. Your setting at home is not going to be the same. So you got to be aware and understand that your life has changed and things are different. So for you even to feel lonely, or for you to even to go there, you want to know that either you signed up for it or it happened to you. Just knowing that it's different itself gives a huge boost. Hey guys, for all those who stayed up to the video for this long, thank you. There are a few important things that I do share towards the end of the video, and I really, really appreciate the support for you guys for being this long on this video. I also want to share that this is an initiative on my end personally, just to share what I feel, owning to my feelings. It is not easy. I'm sure you guys know, see, and appreciate it. So thank you for your support. And now for the rest of the video. Now, you are not alone. There are a lot of people going through it. But if you just talk about it, acknowledge it, talk to your peers, your close ones, you get through this. If you're a student, you want to talk to your parents, your close ones. If you're someone in a working professional, you want to talk to your friends, your best half, your partner. People are married, people who are not married, people who are single, people in all spheres, all races, all sexes. There is someone who could be there for you. And for those who have no one, you want to introspect, because that is even more powerful. You want to be able to write it down, because just by writing things down, you are able to simplify it. And that's how I did it. I'm no professional, but it definitely helps. I was never borderline lonely. For me, as a situation, I've been a single child, of course, from the time I grew up. It is very comfortable for me to be alone and do things alone without any sort of acknowledgement or understanding or support or friction or even questions being asked. I always did what I wanted to do. I could be right. It's me. I could be wrong. It's me. People are looking at me who do have siblings, also wondering, hey, that's the same life. All of us are doing that. Yes, it is all of us doing it. But just the fact of knowing someone's there, knowing someone's not there is, I'm sure, is different. So these are the ways on how I got more proactive. Because moving to a new country for me, it is not about being lonely as such, but it is definitely a community being stripped away from you, your friend circle, people around you. For all the students who moved in, you do know how hard it is to study, part-time work, and also have a social life. For those who moved in working, you literally have been replanted, moved all the way from there to here. You want to be more involved, you're excited. It's a great feeling, but at the same time, things are a little too monotonous. You do not like how it feels. So, one of the most important things that I did when I started working, studying, and a few other things is I made sure that I did have a social interaction with people. From someone who can go to a book club to someone who goes to a bar, technically, if you're going for a social interaction, the motive is the same. You're going to meet people, whatever way you do it, whether you go to church groups, whether you go to social events, whether you go to networking events, just having to meet people, having to find like minded people, having to form your own community, your own group um, is very important, specifically speaking in terms of an immigrant and having to move from a new country. You want to be able to connect with your peers and also stay in touch with them, not just in a transactional basis that, hey, I did this for you, you're doing this for me, which is also important, but not just on that level, but at the level of having someone to be there for you. So tomorrow, if something ever goes right or wrong, you know that they are there for you and you know you're there for them. I think that is very crucial and important. First, number one thing that I did is to have a social sector community or even a bunch of few people who are there for you, because you will be able to pass through it with them and they will also be able to pass through it with you. So it is definitely start from scratch sort of a bond building, but it is very important. So here are a few groups that you could probably connect with. So you have your school groups, your church groups, your college groups. If you're moving from a different country, at times you do have your previous school groups who are here. So you want to be able to connect to them. You could connect to your churches. You could connect to community that is around. You could connect to the people who speak your kind of language around. One of a very important tool that people can use today with social media and internet is Facebook groups. There are a lot of Facebook groups with similar interests and like-minded people such as you. Even from selling things to buying things to knowing things, it is crucial, important. Facebook groups are a huge blessing. They can be not so much a blessing as well. Just use the positives of it and you get through it. So Facebook groups are number 2 option, and that's an awesome way to go about it. Wanting dependence. In spite of you having to move to a new country, finding new people, you're accepting. Now you're finding groups that you can be a part of. You cannot burn down your ships. You need people from back home and wherever you are from. So of course you need having a regular connect of call, text is a huge support. You want to be able to do a few events even with people from back home and you're connecting. You can watch movies together. You can do social events online together. So many ways. There's just a lot of ways, and I'm sure people are looking at this and be like, "Hey, I know 4 other ways that you're not mentioning." Yes, you are right. I personally have done what movies together. I've done online screening just by having to do a video call, place a laptop, watch the same movie together. It's great, and I think that's awesome. It was a lot of fun when I did it with my folks back home. And I think you guys should also. It is crucial. It is important for you all to do it. So do it, and that will be a huge blessing for you guys. Third way on how I got through it is picking up a hobby. If you're someone who always wanted to learn the guitar and you never did. Now that you have a lot of time and you're trying to build a community, trying to find people, you have your job perspectives, you have so many other things happening, you have free time, whatever the hobby, I think this is your right opportunity. For me specifically, I started reading quite a bit, and I think that really helped me. I started developing a fondness for books, which I never had. I started reading quite a bit, so develop a hobby that definitely helps you pass through it. There are different psychological things that are barriers that are placed in front of you, which is why you feel a certain way, for which you would need professional help. But today I am sharing about just a common person going through very basic borderline loneliness at creating your craft. For me, that's a huge thing. It could be the form of this YouTube video, or in the form of writing, in the form of reading. When I create, I'm in a completely different headspace, and that's a huge win for me. So my most biggest way on how I dealt with something is I started creating things. Creating things not because, hey, you know what, I'm bored, I'm lonely, let me do this. No, I kind of moved from that. Maybe that's how I started, but I moved over from that to a point where I dedicate a certain amount of time that I want to do something, and I want to do it because I want to create it for me. At times, or at most times, we need acknowledgement, we need accreditation from people around you, but you're not going to get that all the time. Especially if you're a YouTuber and a billion people trying to make it in the industry, you're not going to get it. If you're a writer with so many writers, you may not get it. If you're an actor with struggling actors, you may not get it. You don't need acknowledgement. You can still make it if you do it by yourself. Do it for you. That's what I did. Did it for me, and I'm doing it for me. And for me, the only person that I'm accountable to every single day is me, myself. How much of truth is there? So for me, I am important, and I think dating has been a huge win for me. And I think it would be a huge win for you guys. Do what you like to do that you never had the time for. So today I'm talking about loneliness in the perspective of people, students, or individuals who move from one country to the other. In my case, it was Canada as a popular country where people are moving. It could be US, UK, Ireland, New Zealand, wherever you're moving. You do feel lonely at some point in time when things are not going the same way, when everything has been uprooted in terms of your community change, your friend circle, your social circle, everything has changed. You either do really well or you feel low, which I also felt, and I've seen people also go through it. So there are two different kinds of people. At times, or mostly, it is personalities and how you perceive it. And it's not that loneliness is only personality specific. That's not true. Loneliness can occur to everyone. What is important is acknowledgement and moving on from it. So, having to move to work and study, and we've spoken about loneliness for quite a bit now. You want to be able to pick up a hobby that also helps you in your existing way of life. For me, when I moved, I think it was not a hobby, but it was a necessity to get it right. Just to learn how to cook. I had no clue back home. I never cooked for nothing. I probably must have made instant noodles. I've always made good cup of teas, so I could just make that one thing and instant noodles, and that's all I could do. From there to have to move to a country when I had to eat what I would eat back home, like how my mother or my parents would cook. I would never get it, so I would try to replicate the recipes, but I've had burnt rice, I've had overcooked meat, you cannot imagine the horrors. I've had smoke alarms going out on me, and that's not fun. So for me to be able to transition what I'm doing now, something I took upon, and I took it a little more seriously in having to learn. It started from nothing, just by necessity, but then it became a hobby, and I wanted to learn more about it, and I improved on it. It happened after moving to a new country. So sometimes moving changes you as a person. You become more skillful, you become more useful. Probably try cooking, because you're going to be eating all three times in a day. This is another tip. You want to learn your professional needs. If you're someone who's studying and you have your trajectory and how you can go, you want to delve deep into it, find out more things, and work towards getting your accreditations or your certifications. Sometimes you're doing a supplementary certification helps as well. You want to find and dive more than your existing course if you're someone who's come to study, or if you're someone who's moved. As you do things and as you progress in terms of cooking, in terms of studying it, you're progressing, and that feeling itself is a huge boost that kind of lifts you up from where you are to how you feel. Do not be hard on yourself. You are new, you are learning, things are not the same, everything is different, everything has a time and space. Being hard on yourself is only going to make it worse. It's not a motivational way of looking at things, it is just a logical, practical way of looking at things. I understand the pressure on you, I understand how it feels, but do not be hard on yourself. But you want to be able to get through it one day at a time, because at the end of it, you know that it makes no sense to be hard on yourself.